for taking the time to meet with us today. And I hope that this session, this next 29 minutes, is beneficial to you. First of all, let's talk about why, and if I can get the horse now, we've done this thousands of times and it won't move now, but why should you listen to anything that I have to say? Well, as Sarah mentioned, and you may think that this is valid or not, but I spent the past 26 years coaching Division I teams. I was the head coach at Cleveland State for 10 years and then the head coach at the University of Akron for 13. And during that time, we used mental training. Did we use it all the time? No. Was I the greatest mental coach ever? Definitely not. But what I will tell you is that when we used it as it was supposed to be used, we saw benefits. You would have thought that I would have taken those benefits and used it consistently throughout, but you know as well as I do, that's very difficult to do with all the other things that are going on with preparing our teams. I will tell you this, I had the great experience when I was at Cleveland State of being mentored by Dr. Sue Ziegler, who was a sports psychologist who worked with athletes at all levels, pros, Olympians, and then our team. And she mentored me through during my career at that time. We used mental training a lot more when I had her than we did when we didn't. But the one thing that really got me hooked into this and made me want to learn even more was in 2002, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I was young and it was a shock, obviously. So I was in great shape, nothing can take me down. I thought, oh, this is scary. Well, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I would go to Sue's office and I would lay on the floor and she would run me through visualization of fighting the cancer out of my body. So I would lay there, I boxed all the cancer out, and that was part of my, sort of my treatment as we went through. I went through months and months of, trying to get a hold of this disease. I don't have any proof to tell you that this cured me, because obviously I had surgeries. I had the Cleveland Clinic, one of the best hospitals in the world. But what I will tell you is it gave me some emotional control. It helped me control my mind. It helped me feel like I had a little bit of control over it. And if you look at research, it will tell you that it did, in fact, improve my health. And I guarantee you it improved my well-being. And that's something that we're going to talk about as we go through today. I read in my college AD email last night that things are still not looking good for us in athletics, right? Lots of furloughs, even at big, huge schools, furloughs. I was on the phone with a friend of mine that coaches softball at a mid-major, and he was going into a meeting and thought that he would probably lose one of his assistant coaches. So all of this that's going on now with the pandemic is stressing us out, right? We know that it's stressing us out. I can only imagine what it's doing to our athletes. They don't want to wear a mask. They think that COVID doesn't make a difference for them. All these things are causing all kinds of things to go on in their head that they can't really keep focus. They don't know how to deal with it. And we know that stress adversely affects performance. So it's our job at this point to try to figure out how we can help them move through this. And in the meantime, we might actually be able to help ourselves as well. We know that peak performance is comprised of a lot of things. We know that skills and talent, number one, obviously make all the difference. Physical conditioning. I know one of my former athletes is on this call. She's a coach, and I'm sure she's rolling her eyes right now because that was one of the things that I always felt we had control over, so we controlled it. And mental preparation, obviously, part of this pie. Am I implying that we spent 1/3 of our time working on mental preparation? No, I told you that that's not the truth. Am I suggesting that you have to do that as well? Absolutely not. I know that's not realistic. What I am suggesting, however, is that mental performance training will increase well-being, and in the end, it will increase performance. And it's overlooked, but study after study after study show, over 200 studies with over 300,000 people, they show that a positive mindset makes a huge difference in success in all facets of life, including athletic performance. So if we don't focus on this, we're letting some talent sit on the table, in effect. We need to incorporate these things into our programs to reach peak performance. We also know what research tells us that peak performers are more self-aware. Self-awareness is essential for better mental performance, better overall performance. Whatever tools we use, whatever facets of the mental game we train, Those little things, and I'm going to give you a suggestion today on what you can do starting tomorrow or later this afternoon, but little steps can make a big difference. It's like that butterfly effect where the butterfly flaps its wings in Africa and all the have a hurricane in the Gulf Coast area. So these little tiny incremental steps that we take can make huge differences in how we think, how we control our emotions, and ultimately how we perform. We know that our athletes have a lot of constraints that affect their well-being. And if their well-being is not intact, it will have direct negative effects on their performance. Here's a question for you, and I'd like you to see if you can fill in the poll as Sarah pops it up. What's the biggest impact of the pandemic on your student athletes right now? If you go ahead and take a minute to vote, that'd be great. Is there anxiety up? Are they totally out of shape? That's one thing I'd be totally worried about. Have they increased their focus? Are they like so excited to get back that now they're like running around bouncing off the walls? Or did they lose some engagement while they're sitting at home on the couch? I'll be interested to see what you think about the poll as we go through. So the question is, where can we begin today to make sense or to make a little bit of difference in this crazy time that we're in? The lovely and ugly coronavirus that's on the screen here. If I see it one more time, I'm telling you, right? You're totally like, eh. But we're canceled, we're furloughed, we're all these things. We don't know how many games we're gonna play. We've got to wear a mask. We can't get too close to people. What can we do? Well, first of all, the first step to peak performance is awareness, as I mentioned before. Peak performers are more aware. It is imperative that we get our athletes to understand how they think, how that affects their motion, and I want you to sort of twist as far as you can go with keeping your feet forward, all right? So let's start here now. Put your hand out in front. I want you to focus on that thumb, okay? Look at the nail bed, the tiny wrinkles around the knuckle. And now I want you to open up slowly, carefully, and just go around and twist until you can't go any further, and then come back and make a note of where you twisted to. And when you come back to the center, just put your arm down, and we're going to go on to the next thing. All right, now what I want you to do is that we're gonna do this, we're gonna visualize this, all right? So without doing it physically, I'm gonna ask you to close your eyes, and then visualization is like if you have a GoPro on the top of your head and you're seeing basically what your eyes would see if they were open. That's the best way to visualize according to research. So without doing it physically, I want you to visualize that your thumb's out in front of you. And pay attention to your thumb, the nail, the tiny wrinkles around the knuckle. And now I want you to imagine twisting your body open. Feeling your spine elongate and loosen. Visualize yourself going past that first marker, then past the second marker and twist. Nope, actually, just wanted to go to a second marker and then come back around to the front. And then you can visualize yourself putting your arm down to the side and open your eyes. So now we went to a second marker. All right, we're gonna do it again, physically. Put your arm out in front of you for real this time. Focus on your nail, the nail bed, the tiny wrinkles around your knuckle. And once you've done, you got that focus, keep your focus on that thumb, twist open, go to the first marker, and keep twisting around to the second marker. Once you've done that, twist back to the center position, and put your arm back down to your side. Okay, now we're going to visualize a second time, but we're going to go to that third mark. All right, go ahead and close your eyes, and again, without doing it physically, I want you to visualize your thumbs out in front of you. Pay attention to your thumb, the nail bed, the tiny wrinkles around the knuckle. I want you to imagine twisting your body open, and you're going to go to the first marker, then to the second marker, and you're going to twist all the way to a third mark and make a mental note of where that is. Now twisting your body nice and fluid, come back to the center position and imagine putting your arm back down to your side. Okay, last time, for real. Do it physically again. Everyone put your thumb out in front of you. Pay attention to the thumb, the nail bed, the tiny wrinkles around the thumb. Take a deep breath, feel your spine elongate and loosen. In a fluid and relaxed motion, I want you to start twisting your body open. Go past the first marker, past the second marker, and all the way to the third. And then twist back to the center position and put your arm down to the side. And now you can sit down and I won't make you get back up, I promise. So, I have a question for you. You are someone who gives directions all the time and we expect people to follow them. Well, I asked you to go as far as you could the first time, and I will put money on the fact, because of I know how our brain works and you do too, that you did not go as far as you could the first time. And the reason for that is because our brain is trying to keep us safe. It doesn't like change. It doesn't like us to do anything that might be uncomfortable. Its number one job is to keep us alive, right? Survival, which is great for longevity. It is not great when we're trying to get better in athletics. So if survival is number one, we have to figure out how we can sort of work around that frustrating part of the brain and get better, right? We don't want today to look like yesterday. We want today to be better than yesterday. And we're constantly telling ourselves, this is all the further I can go. I can't run any faster. I can't jump that high. I'm not tall enough. I'm not smart enough. Whatever it might be, you know as well as I do, those thoughts go through your mind and we start to focus on those, right? And take our attention away from where it should be. And you know darn well they're going through the minds of your athletes. So on top of that, everything I just said, all the statements that just came out of my mouth are negative. We have a negativity bias, right? We are constantly looking for the problem, particularly as coaches. It's our job to find and fix things. We don't look for bright spots. So we know our brain limits us and we are innately negative. Well, in order to get better, we've got to figure out how to get past both of those things. And that's what mental training is meant to do. Help us figure out how to best use our brain and all the functions of it to make us better. A negativity bias has helped us through evolution, just as that survival part of our brain. That in order to get better and perform better, we have to be able to circumvent those and take some control over what we're saying, what we're paying attention to, and all the other things that make a difference in our performance. So, fortunately, our brain has a system that can help us with this. It's called the reticular activating system, and we're going to call it the RAS just for short for the rest of this. What this does, or what this is basically a bunch of neurons that are in your brainstem that help filter what comes in and out, or what comes in to your attention. So if we're going to make changes, sometimes we need to change our focus. And fortunately, this filter helps us do that. It keeps things out, pretty much a lot of things that we don't want to see. It brings in the things that we do want to see. So sometimes it's a good thing. Sometimes it helps us with our biases, which it might not be so good. We are looking sometimes for proof that we're either good or bad. We are looking for things that get our attention, that are important to us. But we are in charge of this filter. And as soon as our athletes understand that they have control over what comes in, they may be able to choose better things to let in. If we didn't have this filter, there'd be 14 million things coming into our brain all at once and we would just melt down. So we have to get our athletes to understand that we can decide what comes in, what we let in, and what we take to help us move on to the next thing. For instance, we are looking for certain things, and what we look for determines our life, basically, our performance, what we care about. What we let in makes a difference. Here's a perfect example. When I lived in Berea, Ohio, when I was at Cleveland State, we used to walk to Baskin-Robbins downtown Berea, 3 times a week. A little ice cream problem, I guess. But I saw this logo a million times. I never really saw the 31 in the 31 flavors that Baskin-Robbins has. Now, all I can see is the 31, right? Or you buy a new car. You never realize that everybody in the world has the same car because we have changed what we let in. Our filter changed. I used to look for this car, now I'm looking for this car, and I realized, thought I was cool, not so cool. Everybody has my car. So what we need to get our athletes to understand is changing our focus is possible. Improving our focus is possible. All right, Sarah, let's see what the results of our poll are, if you can post those. All right. So the biggest, well, pretty close here. We've got increased anxiety and a lack of engagement. Yeah, I sort of thought so. And we do have some people, 13%, that were motivated to get stronger and better. That's good news. So, but thanks for taking the time to do that. That sort of rolls right into what we're doing here and taking a look at how we can re-engage as our athletes come back to campus. So I'm going to make a prediction. And here's my prediction. Over the next 8 minutes, you're going to hear about 4 minutes of what I have to say. And I'm not going to hold it against you because there's a huge group, there's all kinds of data out there that say in research that our mind wanders almost 47% of the time. So if we have a lack of engagement, if we have extra anxiety, think about how much more often that may happen. Think about this. How important is our focus? If I'm laying on that operating table, I hope that the whole time that doctor's working on me, that he is focused. And if these statistics are correct, that means in a 20-minute half in basketball, your athletes' minds are the planes fly over in Cleveland, so it's commonplace. You're looking at the planes, like, hello, the ball's going to come to you, and you are standing, right there. So you need to be aware. So, but the obviously, focus is extremely important to performance. But how often do we practice it? We practice throwing, we practice hitting, we practice shooting, we practice all these things, but we rarely practice attention and focus. I've got a way that you can do that. You know this, that when our attention gets drawn away, we have a tendency to get in accidents. Most accidents happen, almost 80% of accidents happen within 25 miles of your home, and about 65% of accidents happen within 5 miles of your home. We get distracted, and all of a sudden, boom, you run into the back of somebody. Or in the last 2 minutes of the game, how many errors or goals are made because we have let our focus wane, or our mind has wandered somewhere else. We know that where our attention goes, our brain follows, and then our actions go there too. But the good thing is that we can change the direction and the width of our mental beam, our focus, at any time. We have to get our athletes to understand that they're in control of that. And that's a positive thing. Focus is a deliberate decision. It can be practiced just like any other skill. It is not your fault that somebody loses focus. It is not the fans, not the officials, not their parents. It is under our control at every single moment of the day. Our brain is built to help us focus or bring into things if we're looking for them that we need. Here's a drill we can do. This is a concentration grid, and you'll see at the bottom of this slide, you can go to concentrationgrids.com and print yours off. Here are some options on what you can do. Set a timer from 15 to 2 minutes and see how many they can get, how many numbers in a row your athletes can get, and then chart their progress from 1 week to the next, or find out how long it takes them to get all 99 and make progress in that way. Once they can find all 99 at once or within 5 minutes, start to add distractions, turn on the music, throw balls their way, have people walk by, have people talk to them. The one thing I'd like to add to this, which is not really common in the concentration grids thing, I'd like you to take a tally, or have them take a tally of how many times their mind wanders. And I'm going to explain why to you right now, because we know that a wandering mind has a tendency to be negative. Wandering minds are not happy minds. We are much happier and better performers when we are engaged in the task at hand. So if we can keep tally of the times that our mind wanders, we can take a look and say, oh my gosh, I am like off here so many times. Let's see if I can get better at that. Keep learning to help our athletes, having them learn to shift from mind wandering back to the task at hand as quickly and efficiently as possible. Lots of times when their mind wanders, the reason they're not happy is that they're looking at what they're thinking on the inside, which we talked about at the very beginning. These are where these limiting beliefs come in, our negative self-talk comes in, and all of a sudden now I can't find number 7 because I'm stupid, or because, you know, I'm going to lose, coach is going to be disappointed in me, I'm distracted, I'm not good at this. All this turns into a big snowball, and now they can't get anything done because they're so wrapped up in their own minds. Just like they say, can't get out of their own head. But someone who thinks about it in a positive way is going to be much more efficient at finishing that concentration grid. The bottom line is this, that training gives us the power to switch from these non-productive thoughts or non-productive focus to thoughts that are productive, that will help us improve. And every time we practice this, the neuroplasticity of our brain is building new pathways. It's like building a muscle. It's like lifting weights in the weight room. Every time we practice these things, our brain gets more efficient and gets better. So we can focus. We know we're going to lose focus, right? We really don't ever lose focus. We just misplaced our focus. We put it someplace where it shouldn't be. But we can be better at getting from our mind wandering or our incorrect focus back to the focus at hand, back to the play, back to the fact that we're not going to miss a coverage because we're there. We can get better at that if we practice these things. So controlling our attention can improve our performance. It can even decrease anxiety because we're playing in the here and now more often. You can change the way you think. We can get our athletes to change the way they think. It starts with getting them to be aware and teaching them how to focus and practice it. Obviously, we've got lots of other tools that are available, but this is one that I thought you could start tomorrow. And if you have questions about that, we're going to give you an opportunity to ask here at the end. But what we need to do, our job, is to help our athletes get through these crazy times by asking them where their focus is. We need to track it, record it, practice it, and that's how we can improve it. You know this, life is not a talent game, it's a strategy game. The best talent in the world is not going to do anything if we don't have the right strategy. This is one simple strategy that you can implement tomorrow or later today that can help your athletes be better over time. It's not going to happen overnight, but over some time, get better at their focus. Keep them more engaged, keep them more positive. We'd love for you to upgrade your strategy with us at Ursuline College. We have a mental performance certification for coaches, which includes 3 courses, 9 credit hours. There are lots of ways you can get certified in mental training out there on the web, but we are offering this certification program as part of our master's program. You could also transfer credits that you get at Ursuline back somewhere. So, this gives you an idea of what you could do if you wanted to get certified as a mental training coach. And right now, if you register by September 15th, we're going to let you save 25%. And one credit or one class is about $1,500. And our credit hours are $30 to $35 or $60. Actually, I think they're about $60 less than national average. So these are the courses that we're running: well-being, theories and practical applications for better performance and better life. 3 credits starting in September. The next class, these are 5-week classes, all online, some synchronous, meaning we're all going to be together, some asynchronous, meaning that you can do it on your own. Everything will be recorded, so if you can't make the meeting time, it's a 5-week thing. It's going to go fast, but it's going to be lots of awesome information to help you help your athletes. The second course in November, Understanding and Coaching Sustainable Behavioral Change, when we love to be able to do that for ourselves and our athletes. And then finally, the class will start in January 2021, wraps it all up with Mindset Coach Training. That's building the tools, putting the packages together, learning how to train teams, train individuals, build a mindset performance coaching business. All those things will be included in there. And Sarah, we open it up to questions, if anybody has any, about the concentration grids, about focus, about the program, about anything.
Yes, Julie, thank you. If you have a question, please send it to me via chat or the Q&A feature. Our first question comes from Bruce, Julie. He would like to know, do we have any visualization techniques for athletes before a competition?
Oh, sure. And Bruce, we have only about 5 minutes left while we have everybody together, but I would love to talk to you about that after, and you can email me. You'll see my email on the next slide here. But obviously visualization makes a big difference. And when we think of visualization, sometimes we think that it has to be this really long, drawn out process. It does not. And I'd love to talk more with you or anybody who would be interested in discussing those visualization techniques that you can do within 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes before a competition.
That's great. Our second question comes from Sally. She's asking, what can I do with this certification?
Okay, so the certification would allow you to maybe make yourself more marketable in your department, which is letting people go by the, by the moment. You could be your department's mental training coach. We know that having someone else come in and do our mental training is a little bit easier, at least it was for me. It's sort of hard to do when you're the coach, particularly if you don't feel like it's almost like you have the imposter syndrome, right? You don't know exactly what you're doing, how to implement it and make the program work. The other thing you can do with that is do what I do. You can work with teams. I work. Anything else that we have there, Sarah? I think you're muted.
Oh, sorry about that. I had a technical difficulty here. Okay, our final question comes from Michael. How is this course different from other mental training certification options?
I think the biggest difference is that it's we're going to focus a lot on well-being and performance and the theory, that the research that's done, not just in athletics, but in positive psychology, and obviously with all of the great sports psychologists will use their information as well. But the biggest difference is, again, this is college credit. This is part of a master's program. So when you put this on your resume, you say, Ursuline College, certification, mental performance certification for coaches, certified on this date through a accredited college, where this is, again, part of our master's program. So it's had to go through all the rigors of all of the programs that we have at colleges and universities throughout the country. So that makes it, but the well-being part is a huge part of it as well.
That's great. So Julie, that covers all the questions received today. Do you have any final thoughts before I wrap up our session?
Well, first, I'd just like to thank everyone. I know how busy you are. I understand crazy time that you're going through. And quite frankly, if you would like to have more information about mental training, my email address is right here, julie.jones@ursuline.edu. I would love to engage with you about our program, about other training tips, and I would love to hear from any of you with any questions that you have.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for your time today. As mentioned at the top of the hour, we will send a recording of this session to you via email. Please remember to take our survey at the end of this session. It will pop open as you close your webinar window. Your feedback will help us greatly to enhance our content. Thanks again so much and have a great rest of your day.